There's nothing like following your passion. I mean, I love what I do, obviously, and I've loved it the whole time I've done it. Charlie is the same way. We have managers, they come, some of them went to business school, some of them didn't, they're all types. But the common factor in them, they're successful. The common factor is they love what they do, and you've got to find that in life. And some people are very lucky in finding it very early. I was dumb luck that my father happened to be in the securities business. So when I would go to his office, there were a lot of books to read, and I got entranced with that. But if he'd been in some other occupation, I think I would have read those books eventually, but it would have been a lot later. So if you find something that turns you on, my guess is you're going to do very well in it. And the beauty of it is, in a sense, there's not that much competition. I mean, there are not a lot of people out there that are going to be running faster than you in the race that you elect to get into. And if you haven't found it yet, you may well have found it. But if you haven't found it yet, you've got to keep looking. And we've got 70 plus managers. Some of them didn't. We had one guy that didn't go to high school even, didn't they, Charlie?
Oh, yeah.
He quit in fourth grade, I think.
Yeah.
Well, Mrs. B never went to school a day in her life, and when you go out to the Furniture Mart, I hope you go out this evening. We expect to set a record today in sales. What you are looking at on those 78 acres, is the largest home furnishing store, about 400 million of sales, largest store in the United States, and it comes from $500 of capital paid in by a woman that never went to school a day in her life and couldn't read or write. She loved what she was doing. And, I tell the story, this is a true story. When she was well into her 90s, she invited me over to her house for dinner. That was very unusual. At a very nice house, 6 or 7 blocks away from the store. And I went into the house, and the sofa, the chairs, the lamp, the dining room table, they all had little green price tags hanging down at them. It made her feel at home. And I said to her, Mrs. B, you are my kind of woman, yeah? Forget Sophia Loren and all the rest. I mean, this is my kind of woman. She loved it, and she loved it all her life. And just think of what that produced. I mean, it's incredible. I mean, one time my dad used to quote Emerson that the power that lies within you is new in nature, and basically the power that was within Mrs. B was new in nature. And just over a lifetime, it produced amazing things. So find your passion, and then don't let anything stop you. Okay, Carol?
Well, this is a deeply philosophical question. Many things that the man did not want his name announced. Many things that you and Charlie do and preach are opposite to those of what people practice and expect. For example, you do not change the management of the acquired company. You applaud long-standing employees while others always look for fresh blood and try to fire people as they grow old. You probably do not encourage retirement while many companies do. You do not give large compensation to directors or compensate them using stock options. You do not seem to hire many MBAs. You don't invest in high tech, but your company has grown very fast. You do not provide earnings guidelines. You do not live near New York. You do not like sushi.
That's the key.
I wonder what is the fundamental reason for all of these things. In other words, there appears to be a central philosophy here that I am missing. I can understand these as isolated principles, but where is the beef? Scientists and philosophers look for a unifying theory when possible. What is yours? Is it Buddhism or paganism or something else? Yes, I am looking for your fundamental or unified theory of management in life or fundamental guiding principles.
In 10 words or less.
Let me try that one more.
Good.
It's pragmatism. Partly we do things in our different way because it suits us, and partly we do it, it suits our temperament, our natures, and partly we do it because we found through experience that it works better, at least with us sitting where we sit. It's just that simple. And we've had enough good sense when something is working very well to keep doing it. So I'd say we're demonstrating what might be called the fundamental algorithm of life. Repeat what works. Is that terse enough for you?
We'll go on to number 3. I like it. Or number 2, I'm sorry, number 2.
I'm starting a career in investing, and many, if not most, investors my age think they're value investors. Also, there's a record number of people here to see you this year. And the same value investors who were laughed at 3 years ago are now celebrated by the financial press. Will there be fewer metaphorical $100 bills left on the street going forward? And if so, should I look for a career in managing a business instead of managing money?
There will probably be fewer, but I would say there will always be, except in the most bubbly of markets perhaps, but there will always be opportunities if you're not working with large amounts of money. The money manager, there's a basic conflict. There's conflicts in most businesses. Everybody's pointing out the conflicts now in the investment banking business, but the investment management business has a conflict that's equally as significant in the fact that asset gathering can become a way more important part of your income than asset managing. But if you manage moderate sums of money, I think there will always be opportunities to overperform. That doesn't mean lots of people are going to do it, but they will be out there. And, it might have been easier many years ago when there were fewer people looking and not as much information was available on the internet and all that. But people still make the same mistakes, and they still get, well, I'll give you an illustration. Charlie has a company called the Daily Journal Company. Called the Daily Journal Company. And the Daily Journal Company has a bunch of cash. And it sat there with cash, and it sat there with cash. And I own 100 shares, which is all he'll let me own. And I got their annual report here a while back, and in their fiscal year of 2009, they never bought stocks before that I'd seen. And all of a sudden, they'd bought $15 million worth of stocks, and they were worth $45 million. So by sitting around for a while, but waiting until things got really ridiculous in certain cases, he put $15 million out that became $45 million within probably a 6-month period or so. So opportunities come around. You have to be prepared to grab them when they come. And you can't do it with the kind of money. You can't get the extraordinary things with the kind of money that we're running. With moderate amounts of money, I think there will always be opportunities. Charlie's going to tell you something more pessimistic now, probably.
Well, yes, one piece of advice that Warren frequently gives, and it's particularly useful to those going into money management: take the high road. It's far less crowded.
Yeah, Alan Simpson used to say, he said, those who take the high road in Washington are seldom bothered by heavy traffic. But getting to the last part of your question, there's going to be opportunities for talent, whether it's in money management, operating management, whatever. I mean, it's going to work. Money management, it's easier to scale up and easier to get into and all of that. So it was sort of my natural inclination in any event. I would not have wanted to work my way up to a plant superintendent and all that until I got a job at the top, about the time they were going to give me a gold watch. But there's opportunities in both places. Carol? There we are.
Good morning, Warren and Uncle Charlie. I have to call you Uncle because my parents are from India and we call anybody older than us Uncle or Auntie.
We have to call us great uncle.
I am Sabrina Chug from Los Angeles and I'm 12 years old. My mom owns a bunch of Berkeys, which obviously I'm going to get one day. My question is, 17% of the world is Indian. That's 1 out of 6 people in the world. India's economy has been growing at 7-8% per year. At this rate, it will surpass total U.S. GDP in 2043. Can you please tell me why aren't you investing in India?
Well, it's a good question. And we have connections there, obviously. But it hasn't, in the insurance field, there have been very distinct limitations on what a non-Indian company, a non-Indian owned company can do. We've looked a lot, and mostly through Ajit. We've looked a lot at the possibility of being in the insurance business there, and actually, as of yesterday, I agreed next March to go to India because our ISCAR business is doing very well there, but I don't know what they think I can do additionally. But in any event, they said, come on to India in March and see if we can't expand it substantially. India is going to grow dramatically, and ISCAR belongs in every industrial country in the world. I mean, we are very basic to industry, and we've done wonders for our customers all over the world. And we have a good-sized operation in India, but ISCAR management hopes that if we take a trip over there in March, we might land a few more accounts. We do not rule out India, believe me, in looking at either direct investments or marketable securities. In fact, POSCO, Charlie can describe the POSCO situation better than I am, but they have big plans for India. Charlie?
Yeah, the one trouble that India presents is that its governments tend to have a fair amount of paralysis, endless due process, endless objection, zoning is hard, planning permissions are hard, etc. And that has caused the very wise founder of modern Singapore to say that China is going to grow much faster than India because their government causes less paralysis. So these countries are different in the opportunities they present. Of course, we like India, and we kind of admire the democracy that causes the paralysis, but we still don't like the paralysis.
It's not ordained, however. If you'd looked at China 40 years ago, you would have not, you wouldn't have dreamt of what would happen. So countries do learn from each other. I mean, and they should. I mean, and I think they've learned many things from the U.S. that they adapt. I'm not talking about India specifically. I'm talking about other countries generally. They don't take on everything we have. But if you looked at a country that was as successful as this country's been over a couple hundred years, you might figure there could be a few good ideas you could steal. And I think that you're seeing that around the world, and maybe they can improve on us. So I don't think I would feel that any impediments to growth that existed now are necessarily ones that have to be permanent. We ought to figure out a lot of ways to do business in those countries. My preference is obviously in something like insurance, which I understand, and where we've got terrific people. Both China and India do limit us right now, quite significantly, in what we can own of a company. And I really hate to take some of our managerial talent and put them to work for something we only own 25% of. I'd rather have them working on something we own 100% of. And so it will depend on the laws, but people in India are going to be living a lot better 20 years from now than they are now, as they are in China and as they are in the United States. Okay, Becky.